What unsupervised childhood activities did you participate in that probably should have killed you? I grew up in Kigali, Rwanda. After the 1994 genocide, there were landmines all over the place. We used to walk to our primary school, about 1.5 kilometers. As kids, we used to play soccer on the street while walking to school, so one day the ball fell in the bush as always, and I went for it. Little did I know that the stone-like thing under the ball was a notorious landmine. I got the ball and I asked the other older kid what it was. 10 minutes later, the entire neighborhood was on site talking about how I just cheated death. Never will I ever forget it. If I stepped on the mine that afternoon, I wouldn't be writing this today. Glad you're here to write this comment. I used to rollerblade off the roof and onto the trampoline. It hurts to think about it now. I'm still shocked I never got hurt. Morning edit, wow. So this is what it's like. My gold cherry, now gone. Thank you for the awards. I'm glad everyone could share their trampoline stories. Lawn darts. Except no one was throwing them at the rings. Nope, toss them straight up in the sky and scatter. Lol, we played scattered darts too. Ah. The 80s, early 90s. Fire, lots of fire. I almost burned down the house in Mexico when I was like 8. I set a fake plant on fire and ran away. Mom was cooking next door and put the flames out. In the US, I burned a hole in the carpet in my room when I was in middle school. Covered that up with small pink carpet. Parents never found out until I moved out. Me too. I lit a match, then got scared, so my stupid child brain thought throw it in the kitchen cabinet drawer, made of wood. When I was a kid, we used to toss apples under the tree, climb the tree, and when the horses, that my grandparents raised, would come to eat the apples, we would leap on the horses. Most of the time the horse would buck and take off running, with a kid on its back. How are you alive? This is nuts. We used to play with chemicals in my neighbor's garage. Like combine all different kinds of chemicals we could find, I would assume lawn care and car chemicals, in her garage into a hole in the cement floor. At least we were smart or lucky enough to keep the garage door open. My greatest discovery at around 12 years old doing that was finding out brake fluid and chlorine for the pool combust when mixed. Soon my friends and I were doing all kinds of crazy shit with the mixture. The best was driving a pipe into the ground a few feet long, and putting the chlorine and brake fluid in there and watching the dragon fire shoot out the pipe. It's not an immediate reaction, kind of a slow burn till it bursts into a furious hellfire. Growing up in a family that hunted, it wasn't uncommon to find .22 caliber bullets in the garage or in hunting bags. My brother would take bullets that he found, place them on a log, and then smash them with a hammer. Luckily he outgrew that phase. Rest in peace to the folks that engaged in these activities, but never made it to this thread. I grew up within the boundaries of Tufts University's campus. At the end of my street was a campus building that was 6 stories high. I remember climbing to the top of the fire escape, stepping over the railing onto the slate-pitched roof. I held onto the dormer and made my way on top of that roof, then I would walk up to the pitch of the roof and straddle the pitch and look out on the Boston skyline. I was under 10 years old. Well over 100 feet up, one slip and I was sidewalk pizza. I can't believe I survived being a latchkey kid in the 80s. We used to dig tunnels through the hay that they stored in the barn that would be like 10 meters high in places. The tunnels would regularly collapse and we'd just shrug it off and dig another. Quite the same activity but with snow. Few times in news I've read about child suffocating into a tunnel they made that collapsed. The Great Rock Wars. In grade school we played this during recess. We just whipped pebbles at each other. Hard. Also, I pay homage to my fallen 4th grade friend, may we never forget you. We left a lot of good men behind on that playground. Swimming in the drainage canal by my house. Barbed wire, horse shit, concrete, fertilizer runoff, etc. My cousins and I, from the time we were toddlers, were just set out into the forest in the morning with nothing but whistles to scare the bears. One time I chased a bear. I swear to God my grandpa tells us the same story. Is this some time rap shit going on here? Back in the old days when folks didn't lock doors, my dumbass used to go in my neighbors' houses and wander about while they slept. Then I'd get scared and leave. Very dangerous as a 6-year-old young lady. Edit, it was 1994, my parents were asleep and I was stealthy. It was maybe they same 4 to 5 family houses on my block and I never got caught. I have many angels. I used to have free reign in the woods behind the base housing at Fort Bragg. My friends and I would ride our bikes through the woods for hours in the summer at the tender age of 7 like it wasn't a big deal. I'd never let my 7-year-old now wander around the woods like that nowadays. One day we found a vine that was dangling next to a ravine and do a Tarzan Juno across it. It was probably a good 30-foot drop to the bottom of a pit filled with jagged rock and dubious puddles of ick. I wasn't supposed to show my parents, but I did one day and they freaked out and cut it down. My friends were mad at me for like a minute until they all agreed it was indeed incredibly dangerous and for the best. Perhaps the most logical conclusion I have ever seen kids come to in my life. Before paintball, we only had BB guns to shoot at one another. Needless to say, there weren't any fancy face masks or other protective gear. For a little bit it was a middle school fad to throw yourself off public buses as they were slowing down and do a roll on the sidewalk. I smacked my midsection on a telephone pole and had bruises for weeks lol. As fun as it really was, I am still surprised how more of us didn't get seriously injured/killed on old school playground equipment. I'm 29 but I'm old enough to remember when playgrounds were filled with gravel, not wood chips or shredded rubber. Holy hell. Good thing small kids are shockingly resilient because I know I face planted on those rocks more times than I can count. Thank you for watching. Write down below in the comments your most dangerous childhood activities.